2 down, 1 to go.
Wrapping up an awesome season. Indoors, outdoors, SMX. We've been treated to a good year.
Every year we go into the off season, we're like, oh, there's not gonna be any racing anymore. But luckily we still have quite a bit of races to go. Most of it outside of the US, with Motocross Nations being over in Great Britain. We have World Supercross. Granted, there's no US rounds, but we still get to watch those. Paris Supercross as well. So we've got a bunch of racing coming up on the schedule, even though we're heading into the off season, which I feel like no longer exists if you're a professional Supercross or motocross athlete.
Yeah, you're right, man, because I feel like the people that want to get the edge a lot of times do those off-season rounds to get some gate drops. So if they're getting gate drops, they were probably practicing and getting ready before those gate drops. So, and then others, they do use that time off or limited time off to maybe just kind of recoup or even heal up some lingering injuries.
And speaking of injuries, the guy who I'm most impressed with in the 250 class right now is Joe Shimoda. His bounce back from his collarbone break at Unadilla has been nothing short of impressive. Shimoda goes out and is challenging Hayden Deegan early on in 250 motos, gets on the podium as well. So the guy's just been absolutely on it. And it's cool to see Shimoda cap off his year on the right foot, just because him switching to Honda was a big deal, big offseason signing for Team Honda HRC Progressive now, since they picked up the Progressive sponsorship. Obviously, Supercross nor Motocross didn't really go his way, but for him to be, I think he's 4th overall in the SMX combined point standings heading into the final round, he can easily jump up 2 spots into that 2nd spot.
Yeah, I think he's really showing his resilience as a rider. He doesn't come off as maybe the loudest on his interviews, just maybe personality wise, but as you alluded to, his bounce back from his injury has been great, and he's one of the few riders to straight up pass Hayden Deegan. I get he didn't make it stick, he didn't hold him off, but he did pass him and he led him for a while, and not many riders get to say that, especially coming back off an injury and against peak performance Hayden Deegan right now.
And speaking of Hayden Deegan, I don't have much to say on the guy because it's like, what else can we say?
Yeah.
The dude almost wins anything and everything at this point. And my only question is, when did you go to the 450 class? And I know it's only his sophomore year. He's just wrapping up his sophomore year in the 250 class. I don't even know what to critique anymore. Maybe it was the starts, but I mean, he fixed that this weekend. So it's like, I don't even know what to talk about at this point.
Do you have him bump up soon, just so that way Jet and Hunter don't continue to keep getting more experience in that class? Or do you let Hagen, a friend of ours is named Hagen. I saw him over the weekend at the track. Or do you allow Hayden just to keep getting as many wins and much confidence as he can, and when the time comes, bump up in another year from now? I see pros and cons in both approaches. I'd be curious to see what they do, because, I mean, I see what you're pointing out. He's on fire. What not a better time?
He does need and really wants to get that Supercross championship. So that's one of the boxes that he needs to tick off before heading to the 450 class. But I think if he's able to check that box off come early May, I think we could see him on a 450 as soon as 2025 outdoors. Because in my opinion, it's like, why go another season racing these dudes when you just dominated all summer long and during the SMX campaign? Granted, he's got to stay healthy for one more round and all of Supercross, but he doesn't get hurt that often. He's got really good technique. He's absolutely on fire. So
yeah,
what else could you say?
So let's say he does bump up. He does Supercross this year, 250s, goes out 450 outdoors. Who's our top 250 contenders then? Do you think Tom Vialle fills that spot? Do you think he takes some confidence knowing that his kind of big arch nemesis is gone? Do you think that maybe adds fuel to his confidence and ability? Or do you think somebody else steps in and says, sorry, Tom, this is going to be mine?
There's definitely going to be a lot of guys throwing their name in the hat for that top dog, that alpha dog spot in the 250 class. But my pick is going to be Levi Kitchen. Just the way that Levi was able to ride during the Supercross season, I'm only thinking he's going to get better aboard his second year aboard the Monster Energy Pro Circuit Kawasaki team. Granted, they do have a new bike, so that is a caveat that we are eager to watch come January. But I do think Levi Kitchen is just going to be the guy. Just another year of experience under his belt. He's in championship situation heading into Salt Lake City this year, so he has some championship experience. So I think of Levi Kitchen just going to be the top spot. But Equally, Tom Vialle is another guy who could be right there. I mean, and even RJ Hampshire is another guy who we will get to. It was unfortunate to see RJ exit out the race early and just KO himself out. We didn't get any KOs in the main event in the UFC fight, but we got one during the Supercross race, or the Super Motocross race, I should say.
Yeah, Julian Bomer, man, continues to impress. I mean, he did have a good Supercross season and outdoors, maybe hit or miss compared to what he wanted to, but his style on the bike just keeps looking better and better and much more physical wise. Like he's growing into that bike more and more. I'm curious to see how much he grows as an individual or as an adult, and if that's going to affect or shape his riding in a bit more.
Yeah, he seems to be hitting stride at the perfectly right time. He's going into the off season with some confidence, running up front, some more experience. And I think as he trains at the KTM test track just up the road here, he's going to be going into his sophomore season being like, okay, like I know what it takes to run up front now. Now I just need to check off the small moral wins, being fastest in qualifying, heat race win, let's lead some laps in the Supercross main event. And then ultimately, let's see if we can get a podium and maybe even a win in my sophomore year. And I think for him, he can be a guy who can take a big step up in his sophomore year or even his, let's call it his junior year and his third year in the class. And it's kind of what we were talking about just last week when we were doing the JBI race recap for Charlotte is we can see Julian just taking a good step or 2 steps into being a podium threat each and every weekend or a potential race winner each and every weekend.
I wonder how much he's picking up from Chase Sexton. I mean, that has to be a great mentor for him to see somebody win the premier class on a very similar bike that he's riding. And maybe if just he gets the opportunity to pick up just any knowledge and experience that Chase may be sharing when they're at the test track together. We've been hearing him quite a bit busy lately, up above the test track, above the shop, but we haven't always gone to check out who has been riding. Julian seems to be in a good spot with the team around him, the resources and his teammates that he has. So I hope that just continues his trend of getting better and better.
What do you think of the track this weekend? Watching it during qualifying, my first thought was, damn, this looks like Lake Elsinore MX on like any given day. And to be honest, I was quite bummed when Hayden Deegan said that in one of his podium interviews because I was like, damn it, he stole my point. Like, you've got to be kidding me. At the same time, I'm kind of glad he pointed that out though, so I'm like, okay, I know what I'm talking about at least a little bit. But yeah, watching that track, it just had like the hardest base ever, but then it had like a wet, slippery top layer to it.
Clumpy and stuff.
Yeah, clumpy, and then as it dries out, those ruts and bumps seem to get extremely hard pack, which could be quite difficult on the setup, especially when it's a hybrid style track. I can imagine the forks and just the whole bike feeling extremely stiff and harsh at times.
Yeah, that would definitely emphasize how stiff of a setting you have if you're going on that style of a track. I thought the track was cool. It seemed like a little more supercrossy than the weekend before. So it seemed like they're kind of working that direction. I'm excited to see what they have for Vegas this weekend and how much more supercrossy the track is compared to the past 2 rounds. But yeah, the dirt definitely seemed like it left something to be desired. I wonder how much of that was just influenced by the conditions that weekend with how hot it was. Maybe if it was overcast, it could have been better. I know our favorite days to ride at Lake Elsinore are overcast days.
Yeah.
Because the water stays in the dirt stays nice and tacky all day long. But when it's sunny out, even if it's only 80 degrees, it still seems to remove the moisture from the dirt pretty quickly. And I think we kind of saw that over there at Texas this weekend.
The track was quite a hot topic between a lot of different riders over the weekend, especially a lot of top riders didn't seem to be a fan of the track. The sketchy, horrible, or some of the words that were thrown around. And I don't want to discredit the Dirtworks track crew because they always do the best they can. Yeah, it just kind of seems like they were limited on what they could do due to the weather and just the overall layout and style of the track.
Yeah, you're right, man. They got a tough job. They have to work with what they're given. So whatever the weather's given them, whatever the track size and layout that they have, and the dirt that they're given. For any of you in Fort Worth, Texas, let us know what the dirt is like in your surrounding area, and if that is, let's say, true to the dirt in your area, or if they maybe found something more unique and not as common in your area. I'd be curious to know just what your type of terrain is like.
Stay tuned as we will have a 450 race recap coming up shortly to the Ride JBI YouTube channel. Thank you guys for watching, and we will see you in the next one.